Hi everyone, Jim here. Welcome to my channel. Well, June on the Range is done and we're into Private Eye July, which really, when you think about it, private eyes aren't that much different from the cowboys and gunfighters that you'd find on the range for June on the Range. I mean, the PI is basically a spiritual successor to those cowboys, and they've just taken them out of the rural setting and put them into the urban setting. But I want to talk to you today. I thought I would do some recommendations, book recommendations for the era from the 20s to the 60s. Now, I did one a couple back, where I did recommendations for the 70s onward. And I know people were having trouble finding books for that era. And, you know, for the traditional period, people know, they know Philip Marlowe and Sam Spade and Mike Hammer and Lou Archer, but I thought I would go ahead and do one anyway, because there are a lot of other choices besides those specific characters for that time era. So, yeah, The Private Eye is an original American pulp creation. Even though there was PIs back in England, like there was Sherlock Holmes was a consulting detective, but he was basically a PI. But the PI, the private eye that we know and love today, is a different animal than those that we read of back then, because the Black Mask magazine, they called them the Black Mask Boys, which was Race Williams, Dashiell Hammett, Raymond Chandler. Their characters they created, the hard-boiled private eye detective story, was in direct confrontation of those cozy British mystery stories, and in creating these characters, it created a whole new genre of fiction. Now, the PI was created by Carol John Daly. He came up with his two-gun Terry Mack character and his Race Williams character, which were the first private eyes in the form that we know of them these days. And the PI was developed after Race Williams created it by Dashiell Hammett and Raymond Chandler, and you know, thus the moniker the Black Mask Boys. Now, Dashiell Hammett's known for his the Maltese Falcon, his Sam Spade private eye character, which is just an iconic, excellent book and character. And this is a lovely Franklin Mint edition that I got years and years ago. And this is pretty much, I have a paperback edition of the story, but it's missing a few pages. So this really is my only complete version of the Maltese Falcon. But let me tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through a whole bunch of books and PI characters and series, and I'll just go through them real quick. But anyway, that's Dashiell Hammett's Sam Spade character. He also, before Sam Spade, he came up with the Continental Op character, which was kind of an everyman PI. He worked for an investigative organization, and he didn't have a name, but he was a real tough man. He was a tough operative, and probably the best known story that he was in was Red Harvest. And here's some of the short stories that he appeared in. The Big Knockover has a bunch of the short stories with the Continental Op, and I have others on my shelf. I'm not going to show everything. I'm just going to kind of give you an overview of characters and series that you could read or look into, you know, looking for reading this month. So after Dashiell Hammett, you had Raymond Chandler. I mean, Raymond Chandler really, you know, Dashiell Hammett was an awesome writer, but then Raymond Chandler just kind of raised it up to the next level, you know. And his probably his best known book is The Big Sleep, with his character Philip Marlowe. And then we have you know, Farewell My Lovely was a famous story too, and it was made into a movie with Robert Mitchum and Charlotte Rampling, I do believe that was. And here's an example of his short stories, Killer in the Rain. Just lovely short stories, great writer. He's probably one of my favorite writers. He's in my top 3 favorite writers. So, and then we have Ross McDonald, who created the private eye Lou Archer. Now, when you talk about Dashiell Hammett Raymond Chandler, and Lou Archer, though that's kind of the holy trinity of private eye writers. And for the longest time, they held the standard that anybody who came after them had to live up to. So, I've just got a few Ross McDonalds here. This is The Ivory Grin, and this features Lou Archer. Great literate writing, Ross McDonald. He just took it to another level as well. I mean, that's why these three are considered the Holy Trinity. Then we have Find a Victim. Now, when he started out, he called himself John McDonald. And then John McDonald came around, the other writer, so he started calling himself John Ross McDonald. And then he just finally shortened it to Ross McDonald. And there's another one by him, The Drowning Pool, one of his more famous stories. But they are great stories and highly recommended. If you want to read a good PI story, Lou Archer's the way to go. And then we have, of course, the famous Mike Hammer. Now, Mike Hammer, Mickey Spillane didn't have any aspirations for being a great writer. He just wanted to write good stories, and he wrote for the readers, not for any critics, or he didn't have any higher goals in mind than to just tell a good story. And he sure as hell did with the Mike Hammer stories. And there's here, I'll go that way. There's I, the Jury, which was his first Mike Hammer story. And then here's an example of another, One Lonely Night, and this is where Mike Hammer goes up against the commies. And we have another one, The Snake, another later Mike Hammer novel. And as I said, I have the whole series of them, but these are just a few examples. Different type of writing. I mean, he was no Raymond Chandler, but he could certainly get the pulse pounding, Mickey Spillane in his writing, and I really enjoy them as well. So, okay, now we're going to get into just odds and ends. And I've got, like I said, I have others on my shelf. This isn't a representation of all. This is a fraction of characters and series that you'll find out there for that time era. But let's take a look at these Shel Scott books. Shel Scott was a character written by Richard S. Prather. And he was, I think he was created in the late 40s, and these stories were written right up until the 1980s. And he's a very humorous private eye. Yeah, but he can write a good action scene too, Richard S. Prather. And that's an example. There's Take a Murder, Darling, and there's Bodies in Bedlam. And then we have, here's one with a Robert McGinnis cover, Joker in the Deck. So they're recommended. They're a lot of fun. And we have Michael Avallone, who's a well-known kind of men's adventure author. He wrote a lot of stuff. He had his own PI character, Ed Noon. And this is There Is Something About a Dame. Now, I don't have a lot of these. I'm always on the lookout for new Ed Noon books, paperbacks, but I think this is the only one I have, and it's very enjoyable. Michael Avallone is just a good writer, a lot of fun, and these are worth checking out, and that's Ed Noon, Private Eye. And then, of course, we have Michael Shane by Brett Halliday. Now, this was a long-running series that started in the 40s, went right up through to the 80s, and he had his own mystery magazine, digest mystery magazine, called Mike Shane Mystery Magazine, and he had a lot of books. I think Brett Halliday, which is a pseudonym for Davis Dresser, he wrote the first 50, and then after number 50, other writers came in and started using the Brett Halliday byline. But they're a lot of fun. And Mike Shane was a very kind of flexible character. He changed with the different views of the time. He started out as kind of a Nick and Nora Charles character with his wife, and then I think Brett Halliday realized, okay, this doesn't have longevity. He killed the wife off, and then Mike Shane got a little bit more hard-boiled, and then once Mike Hammer came around, he became almost like a Mike Hammer type character. He he changed with the times, which was kind of interesting, actually. So that's Murder's My Business. That's one of the more famous ones. And then we have, this is 2 novellas in one, Dead Man's Diary and A Taste for Cognac. And a lot of these early paperbacks had Robert McGinnis covers. I don't think that might be Robert McGinnis, but I think maybe Ron Lesser did some too, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but beautiful covers nevertheless. And then we have an example, This Is It, Michael Shane, and that's a Robert McGinnis cover. And again, I've got a lot of Mike Shane books, but that's just an example of some of them. And I showed you on my TBR for Private Eye in July. I'm going to read this one, Halo and Blood, by Howard Brown, writing as John Evans. And this is his Paul Pine Private Eye character. Very good books. This is another one in the series called Halo for Satan, and he wrote 4 of these. I only have the 2. I think the other one was Halo and Brass, and A Taste of Ashes, I think, were the other 2. And he started out emulating Raymond Chandler, but he kind of found his own voice after a while, and these are very highly regarded, very well done books. Here's an example of Harold Q. Masur novel, Bury Me Deep, and this is Scott Jordan PI novel. And we have Earl Stanley Gardner, who was better known as the writer for Perry Mason. He wrote a series with PI characters Bertha Cool and Donald Lamb, and he wrote under the pen name A.A. Fair. So there's The Count of Nine. These are a lot of fun. And Earl Stanley Gardner, he could really weave a plot, a murder mystery plot. He was quite the writer, and he was very prolific. And they're very, very well written. So that's The Count of Nine. There's Gold Comes in Bricks, and I do believe that's a Robert McGinnis cover. And Owls Don't Blink. These are just examples. I mean, I only have maybe 5 or 6 of these, and I'd like to get more. I didn't really look into how many of these he did write, but they're really good. And speaking of, older, I mean, with Earl Stanley Gardner, another writer that was kind of ubiquitous back around that time was Rex Stout. And, of course, there's his Nero Wolfe character, which is a private investigator, and he has his private investigator helper, Archie Goodwin. And these are, again, well-plotted murder mysteries. And I embarrassingly only have a few of these, and I'm always on the lookout for more of these Nero Wolfe books. They're really well done, a lot of fun. And so that's one. And he also had another character series that was a Private Eye, and that was the Tecumseh Fox series. And I have one here called The Broken Vase. Now, I don't know much about that character. I haven't read this one yet, but if they're anything like the Nero Wolfe books, they're going to be really good, well plotted, and a lot of fun. And these ones are interesting. These ones, you don't see them around a lot anymore, but there's Milo March mysteries written by Emmy Chabber. And this is number 1, Jade for a Lady. He's not a PI per se, but he's an insurance investigator. And the first line of this, if you have any doubt that it's not a PI novel, he says, "The name is March, Milo March. I'm an insurance investigator for $100 a day in expenses. Some people think that ought to make me rich. Maybe it would if I worked every day in the year, but there are long dry spells when all I do is sit around in my office and wait." So that reads to me like a PI novel. And the covers on these are by Robert McGinnis, and the character's made to look like James Coburn, which is very cool, actually. There's number 17, As Old as Cain. And there you have Milo March looking like James Coburn, and that looks like Goldie Hawn on the cover. And then we have A Lonely Walk. So these are fun, and like I said, he's an insurance investigator, but have no doubt that he's a PI. And we have these kind of famous books. The Carter Brown books. Now he was a British writer, Carter Brown, and he wrote a lot of these books. I have quite a few of them on my shelf. This particular one is who is this character in this one? Rick Holman was a private eye. This is his PI, Rick Holman, Nude with a View. And then we have Danny Boyd novel, Lover Don't Come Back. And you could probably still find these on the shelf, and I think they're probably being reprinted. You might even be able to get them digitally. And that's, as I said, that's a Danny Boyd. That's one of his PIs. And then this one's interesting. This is called The Bump and Grind Murders, and it features his private eye, female private eye, Mavis Seidlitz. And I think there was more than just the one book. I'm pretty sure there was more in the series to that one. But, you know, those are just, I've got a couple more here. I've got, about the same time that Mike Shane was coming out, you had this character, Johnny Liddell, by Frank Kane. And these little Dell paperbacks, which are just lovely. And there's Hearst Class Mail, and I've got a few of these on my shelf, and these are just beautiful little paperbacks. And just good private eye reads. And as I said, I mean, there's a lot more out there. These are just a few examples of what you could find if you're looking for PI fiction from the 20s to the 60s. Yeah, and I'm going to show more. I haven't got into short stories or anthologies yet, but I'll probably deal with them in another video. But I just wanted to get that out and wish everyone a happy Private Eye July Day. It's the first day of July, so, you know, I'm really looking forward to what all my co-hosts come up with, and I want to thank them for jumping in on such short notice. I'm just so happy with everybody and what they've come up with so far, and it's going to be a great month, and I hope you join us. Until next time, take care and keep reading.